Hello? I hope everyone's still there. Sorry I had a disconnect issue. My computer completely froze and I had to reboot it. I'm not sure if people are able to hear me when my system was freezing up, but I definitely could not interact with anything on my end. Okay, hello everyone. I hope I didn't lose anyone from the crashy issue. Sorry about that. Just trying to get everything back up. Yep. Hello there, Izzy. Welcome back. Sorry again. So as I was saying, the system, when I was in the middle of saying something, I ended up just cutting off, and I don't know where it did. I mean, that's actually pretty good considering, you know, how the deck's build. But yeah, I don't know how much of what you managed to hear of me talking up this one dwarf that's going to be coming out of the new set. Because I know I was talking about this dwarf here, and I think that this one is going to be a great one for trying to play with. I don't know how well it's going to work in your build specifically, because, let's be honest, you're not heavy on the instants and sorceries. But I do think it's going to be a great card for the mono red. Try to see if there's any other dwarfs that are coming out real quick. You were dwarf, then everything died. Okay, well, I mean, I'm just double checking if there's anything. Oh, by the way, one of the spells that you should run is Lightning Strike in your deck instead of. Oh, my link died. So this unfortunately happens when you go to this site and you reload. It doesn't always remember. Thank you kindly. Oh. Give me 1 second to actually copy that. Copy. You can't just... What the? That's not what it was supposed to do. Copy. Paste. There we go. Alright, so let's see what we have here. Yeah, Scorching Dragonfire. I understand you may want this for the Exile, but since you have the... I mean, that's kind of like up to your opinion on what you prefer. Like, having the ability to Exile is very relevant. But I know some people like using Lightning Strike just because they can go to face. So it's all up to preference. I mean, since you're going to be potentially playing against Greasefang combo, I guess Dragonfire makes more sense. Because that allows you to exile it if they resolve it to the board. So yeah, never mind. You're fine with what you're doing. I'm just trying to think like what else I can maybe suggest to improve the deck's odds here. Because you want the Roiling Vortex against life gain. It's also just a strong combo with Torbrand. But maybe you don't need 4 of these. I'm not 100% sure on that. But the, as I was saying though, the infantry is going to be really strong because it's like Prowess, except that it's +1/+1 counters instead of until end of turn. Only drawback is it only triggers off instant sorceries. Yeah, no, I understand that with Torbrand. So that's why it's like I can understand wanting as many copies of the enchantment as you're running, but I hope you understand why I was saying it's like, because if you come across a like mono red mirror, the enchantment kind of puts you at a disadvantage a lot of the times. But the infantry though is really cool. But with your deck build, when this comes out, I don't think it's going to help too much, because this is all you're running for spells. Probably not enough to trigger it. But the fact that it has trample built into it is what's so great about this card. So after you fire off a couple instant sorceries, you end up building this thing up, and it's able to just trample through. The reason why I don't think this thing will probably make it in the modern format is because we already have cards like this that have flying, and those cards, specifically it's like the red-blue dragon or drake, is just a lot better because it just flies, so it doesn't have to worry about running through ground bodies. The trample does make this have a potential chance to see play in those decks, especially considering it's got the wizard typing. Yeah, Sprite Dragon. But the thing is, it's got has the wizard typing, which means that we can run MTGA wizard damage spell. I'm blanking on the name of it. Oh man, it's called like Wizard's Lightning or whatever. Yeah, it's just simply called Wizard's Lightning. So the advantage of this is that, as you can read, this costs 2 less to cast if you control any wizard, and being able to do 1 for 3 damage, and then be able to grow a creature permanently. It just seems like really strong value. The main issue is, though, it's when you look at the mono red deck build, what can you possibly remove to put this in that doesn't already have a that's not already a very strong card for the deck? Because you don't really want to give up the wizard that enters battlefield does 2 damage, because you don't even have to attack with it to get the damage through. You don't want to give up your 1-drop prowess wizard, because it allows you to deal damage from -1/-1 counters, which allows you to get through indestructible, or even cards that it just allows you to shrink them down so we can still run through. So it's like, it's going to be hard to know if this card's going to be able to find a home in Modern, but I do think this thing is strong enough. It may find a way into a deck. It's a shame, though, that seems to be like the only dwarf in mono red that they released. There's not much dwarf love when it comes to Magic. They get like a dwarf maybe in each block. Not even a block. It's like every other set you might see a dwarf. Let's see, what do we have in? This is gold right here. Do we have any multicolored dwarfs? Oh, I need to double check on. Okay, we're still good there. Just had to make sure that we aren't making people wait for us. But yeah, the entire set's now been spoiled if you're curious about checking out any of the cards. There are a number of them I think are going to be crazy powerful. Eldraine did have a number of doors in it, and unfortunately, still not too many of them were super amazing. I think your best Eldraine dwarfs are the ones that you're already running. Torbrand and 7 dwarves. But if you wanted to include one other dwarf that's pretty good is the night dwarf, rock splitter dwarf, I think it's called, or something like that. I mean, I would imagine they would have more dwarfs, but the problem is they try to put a theme to that set to always be about some kind of like grim fairy tale. So I'm not sure what other dwarves we may see come out of that. I just always like the dwarf subtype. Unfortunately, like I said, it just doesn't see many cards. But when it comes to the new cards, I think that there's a really strong synergy for red, white, green tokens, thanks to these two cards. Does Baird Argivian Recruiter. At the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power greater than its base, you get to create a 1/1 soldier creature token. King Darien, for 3 mana. You get a 2/3 that other creatures you control get +1/+1. And you can sacrifice it to protect all of your creature tokens. I mean, I like dwarfs. But the funny thing is, it's actually a lot of the things that make dwarfs recognizable from like your Tolkien style lore, or a lot of that kind of nature, where it's got like bearded dwarfs. Like this one has got a heck of a beard. 5'1" and 117 pounds. You're not a dwarf. You're over 5 foot. You have to be like in the 4-foot club to be a dwarf. So Izzy, be proud. You're tall for a dwarf. Because I think if you want to get technical, I think dwarf. Yeah, dwarf height is usually about 4 foot 10 inches. Ain't nothing wrong with being a little short. I mean, I'm not tall. I'm not short. I'm kind of like the low end of average. But in any case, yeah, no, the how tall am I? Can't remember if I'm 5'9" or 5'10". I think I'm 5'9". I haven't stood up against something in a long time. Here, let's see what it says on my driver's license. 5'9". I mean, I'm 5'10" when in shoes, just because there's that natural thickness to them. But in any case, but no, like I was saying though, with King Darien, I think this is going to be a really cool deck idea because you immediately get value out of this. Alfred, who plays a lot of FIFA, is 6'8". That's pretty tall. I actually do have somebody that's about that tall that I know for a friend, and I meet up kind of rarely with them, but I do occasionally meet up with them to play Magic, and it is kind of crazy when you think about like someone like that tall, like they should be out doing sports and stuff, and here they are, they're playing nerd card games. Now granted, he did go out and play sports too. All right, let's see here. Close these. Let's take ourselves back over to the games. Yeah, I think oh, you're saying Darien and Torrens. Yeah, Torrens will also be really strong. Same kind of idea. And I actually, here, let me actually pull up a thing real quick. I was actually working on a deck idea for when they release. Now, this is just a somewhat loose idea of cards I've gathered. I don't think... Okay, now here, I'm going to show you the fun joke deck that I want to try doing, but I'm not sure how bad it'll actually be. So here's a link if you'd like to see it directly, but we'll go ahead and pull it up on screen here as well. So this deck is called Naya Human Box that I've developed. So it's Human Box because we are trying Mirror Box with this deck. I'm looking forward to trying this deck idea. Now, it's really a 3-color deck on focus, but actually it's technically 5 colors because we run Joda. So I wanted to try to use Joda the Unifier. I probably should bring up Joda the Unifier over here because it's a little hard to read it on that site. Unless you're just, following along there. So Joda the Unifier, legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. Where whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, you exile cards from the top of your library, unless you exile a legendary non-land card with a lesser mana value. You may cast a card without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You really want to use the Cleric Lord. I remember you talking about that. I thought this would be a fun deck idea just because I go into 5 colors, and I thought that running that with Buried and King Darien seemed like a lot of fun. So you end up getting a lot of synergy between Buried, along with the partners, the Initiate, Joda, Catilda being able to make it so that way all your humans tap for mana. So it just ends out with this really interesting build of tokens. I'm not sure how well it's going to work. I'll be honest, I probably will have to adjust some of these cards just because of how I might need to just say maybe only three King Darians and then go up to 2 Torrens just because of copies of cards I have to get for the deck. Now, with the Mirror Box in the deck, I also went with the Wedding Announcement because that way we can go with all of our creatures are generally going to have a passive ++ bonus to really take advantage of Buried. And I'm not sure how well things are going to work out here, but it's going to be interesting. The one thing I think was a little strange for... let me double check tournament, make sure I'm not making people wait on this. Oh, sorry. Time to go back to tournament.
New pairing received.
We are against the Turtle Box. All right, here we go. Okay. Let's see. Off the open, we are against a Corval deck, so I don't know if I want to keep this hand. I think we can keep it. But I'm not sure how well that was going to work. Let's hit Mulligan. A little better, a little worse, but we'll keep this one. The reason it's a little better is because we do get the Paradise Druid for ramping. We also can now do a turn 2 adversary. Turn 2 adversary is great for us just because it allows us to put some pressure on them getting card draw. We have Broken Wings to actually destroy Corvold as it enters the battlefield. Is it dead? I thought I fixed it. Temporal, you have to actually, YouTube makes it that way it's a brand new video. You have to jump into the new one. When the thing died, it ends up closing that one out, cutting it as a full video, and then makes a new one when I came back on. Unfortunately, I had a disconnect issue that caused that to happen. Alright, Prosperous Innkeeper, Ravenous Squirrels for our opponent. That's some dangerous stuff. Alright, well, let's go ahead and go land. Attempt to attack in. I'm trying to think, is it worth it to... Yeah, so we're going to go for the Paradise Druid to the board. And we'll bring the Basilic Collar down. I was trying to think if it was better for us to hold up the Broken Wings. Because they could potentially just bring Corvold down that turn. No blocks. We'll discard the Blast Zone. See, how much does it cost to activate Blast Zone? 3? Let's give up Paradise Druid. So at this point, my plan is play Blast Zone. But I want to do it after combat. Now, according to Ravenous Squirrel, whenever they sacrifice an artifact or creature, so they could have blocked sacrifice a treasure, would have been a trade. Fortunately, if I activate Blast Zone, I do destroy my own Basilic Collar here. Let's see what the opponent does. If they go for Corvold, before it enters the battlefield, I can sacrifice Blast Zone, get rid of both 1-drops. So I'll be forced to either sacrifice a land or a Rankle, and then we can use Broken Wings to get rid of Corvold. Okay. Activate the Blast Zone. Yeah, so like I said, I accidentally destroyed my Basilic Collar. I wasn't planning on actually going for a Blast Zone play when I brought it to the board last year. I was just trying to be, efficient with my mana. Let's see, what do they choose? Just to draw a card. Alright.
Round timer started.
Let's start off going for the attack. Because they sacrifice Corval in this trade, we would be more than happy with it. Alright. Death to Corval. Unfortunately for Turtle Box, they've been going for this draw card every time with Rankle. And as you can see, they've been missing lands for the most part. Actually, they haven't been missing lands. They're just short on lands in general. Alright, Fatal Push. Probably should have done that on their upkeep, but if I did it on the upkeep and they had one of the 2-cost sacrifice spells, they would have gotten better value out of it, so I think it's better for us to just fire it off right away. Alright, what do you do with this Rankle here? Continuing the card draw. Let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need 2 more lands. Play this, reveal the land. I'm gonna go for Visionary, that way we can hold up Disdainful Stroke. Because I'm not entirely sure what they're gonna bring out this turn. We'll have to discard down the hand size. I think we'll just discard Temple of Mystery. And we'll also discard Memory Deluge. So let's see, we can bring down Lucamina. We can also use the Specialize function. Thanks to Castle Garenbrig. Discard one of the islands. Keep Rankle tapped, so that way they can't keep attacking in. And we'll be able to potentially keep up Visionary Land. And that will give us the ability to use Disdainful Stroke. Assuming nothing on the board changes. Because they may just make us use the Disdainful Stroke right now. Alright, they're Cultivating. It's actually a card I was thinking about using this deck, but it ultimately I just ended up cutting it because we do run a number of other just ramp cards. Arsonist. Alright, interesting. So yeah, we will activate. Bring out the Druid. Activate the Druid. Discard. I'm actually going to discard Breeding Pool because I don't want to have to potentially shock myself for a land. We'll attack with this. Try to get our card draw. And we just got too much draw value here. We can't play things fast enough. Alright. Disdainful that. I was actually really wanting to hold Disdainful for Corval, but that's something I don't want them having either. Not just because it wipes our board, but I don't want to have to deal with the death triggers. Alright. Coma's really good. We just dealt with the meat hook, so Coma should be safe to bring to board. And yeah, okay, that was enough for Turtle Box to surrender. Turtle Box. Friendly Brawl. Opponent wins coin flip. Here we go. Corvald's one of those decks, though. It can easily just spin out of control really fast if you're not careful. Now, because of how much draw that was like given to us, they might have just thought we were sitting on a bunch of counterspell magic. And it's true that we do have counterspells in our deck, but we just didn't have that many in our hand. Wait, what? Did they just, Sorry, I'm just double checking. I think my opponent just decided to do just a one and done there. Sorry, I'm trying to communicate with them, but I'm not getting any real response. Well, yeah, no, it does look like my opponent has decided to just concede the match to us. So, a little anticlimactic for the end there, but I guess that's a way to do it. We just showed them a deck strategy that was enough to scare them off in one go. Let's see. Does that mean that we have standings for the night already, or are there more games still in progress? Let's see. It does look like there is a little more to wait for, but I do know that for the purpose of standings, this was the third and final round. So we managed to actually go 2-1 in the tournament. Now, if you want a little bit of a sneak peek at the standings at the moment, because this is just based off of what's been reported so far. Some of them haven't finished reporting, so we're able to see that looks like Eric Clark is 3-0 and probably our victor for the night. But we'll double check back in with this a little bit later. Looks like we might just be the fourth place with 2-1 just because how our tiebreakers went. It's a little bit of a shame because we won our first one, lost our second one, our third. But Turtlebox did just immediately decide that they wanted to scoop on out. So, in which case, yeah, we'll check back in with that a little bit later. Just until we have the official ends. Well, just to maybe put a little wrap on some of the stuff that we're doing for the stream, we'll play a little bit of Izzy's deck challenge. So I was challenged to try to make a deck around Halar, and this was the deck I came up with. Now, if you're not familiar with Halar, the Fire Fletcher, it is a 3-drop, 3/3 of trample. That whenever you cast a spell, if that spell was kicked, you put a +1/+1 counter on Halar the Fire Fletcher. Then Halar deals damage equal to the number of +1/+1 counters on it to each opponent. To try to go with this synergy of it just being able to burst our opponent because of the number of +1/+1 counters on it, I figured fight rigging was actually a really good part of this. Because we'll be able to build it up with the +1/+1 counters incrementally. Eventually, once we can cast the free spell from fight rigging, we can actually pay extra mana to kick the spell if we manage to hit a spell with kicker off of it. And I felt that that was a decent way to go about this. Now, to go with the idea that we're going to need a lot of mana for all of our spells that we need kicking, we go with some Llanowar Elves, some Incubation Druids, and of course Skyclave Relic, because it's not only a mana source that's indestructible, but it's one that we can kick and potentially trigger our Fire Fletcher. Now, to also go with this deck build, we are running a fair bit of bounce in Blink of an Eye and Into the Royal. I went with 2 and 2 instead of all 4 and 1 in case we come across someone who does a Test of Talents against us. Since they do the exact same thing for the exact same cost, it makes sense to split them up. Now, this gives us a little protection in the sense that we can bounce some things, get some card draw, get some triggers for our Halar. But we also have in our deck some Untamed Kavu, which are just some early bodies that we can put to the board as 2/2s. But if we kick them, they are 5/5 Vigilant Trample creatures. We have some Myriad Constructs that, if we kick these, they come into play with a number of +1/+1 counters equal to the number of non-basic lands our opponent control. And if this happens to become the target of a spell, we must sacrifice this. But then we get a number of 1/1 colorless construct artifacts equal to the tokens, equal to its power in tokens. So, just playing as a 4/4, you get at least 4 tokens if your opponent goes like targeted removal spell against it. So it seems like a really solid card for the deck. Some other cards that work really well with the kicker is Roost of Drakes. That way, whenever we kick a spell, we get ourselves a 2/2 flying Drake token. And if we happen to kick the Roost of Drakes when we play, we get ourselves a 2/2 flying Drake token. So we have a couple different ways to win here. And we'll jump into games and see how well this can work. Now, I'll be honest, I did a little testing with this, but I'm not sure how well this is going to work in a ranked scenario. Because it feels like it runs a little slow, but I'm not sure if it's too slow or not. Alright, I would love to keep this because we have Roost of Drakes. A little worried about our mana, but we'll go ahead and give this a try. See if this can work. So if we can just draw some lands, we should be in a good position. If I remember correctly, I'm running 24 lands plus the Hey Rusho, tournament. We actually went 2-1. We unfortunately lost to the second person in the tournament. Alright. Opponent is colorless artifacts. We're gonna try to put counters on this. Go for Halar. Punch in for some damage. But as I was saying, we lost to the second person because they were a very aggressive deck that just punished us with double strikers and just out aggroed us before we could ever get to the board. Alright, well, our deck idea here, though, for the historic format doesn't seem to be doing that bad. We actually have them dead on our next attack if they didn't do that. Let's go for this tapped. Bring this to the board. Oh no! We lost half our creatures. Oh geez, a Shadow's Verdict? That's terrible. Please, opponent. Can you stop with all the board wipes? Alright, Roost of Drakes is unfortunately not going to pull us out of this one. I mean, I can kick this spell and technically get a 2/2 token out of it. Ugin. Yep, and we just flood. I can't beat Ugin with it. Ugin hits the board and they just -1 and get rid of our Roost of Drakes, which is all of our all of our value. So yeah, that's just basically mono black colorless cards, where it's just mono black is there just for the exile sweepers. It's an Ugin deck. It's one of those things. If they can get to the Ugin, they usually can win the game. Because Ugin's just so oppressive. Unfortunately, I cannot keep this. Just lack of green sources. It's too risky. Especially considering we're on the play. This one I'll keep. I think I'll put... what's the better card to put on the bottom? Put Into the Royal on the bottom. Gonna be greedy, keep the fight rigging. Because, truth be told, I should probably have put fight rigging on the bottom. Alright, strict Proctor for our opponent, but that doesn't really stop us. Because I don't care for the hideaway this time. I'm just going with the I'm gonna go for the +1/+1 counters. Alright, another strict Proctor for our opponent. Worried about what our opponent does here. Let's go for Drakes. Because this is a... Oh, wait, no, it's an ETB, isn't it? Darn it. Why do you have to be an ETB trigger? I thought it was a cast trigger. I'm about to say, the only thing that's an ETB is Roost of Drakes. Everything else is cast. Alright. Opponent's turn. Archmage's Charm. Oh, joy. If they're wasting Archmage's Charms to draw, that means that they have them for counterspelling. Let's watch. Go for this for 3. Oh, they let resolve. Interesting. No attacks. Alright, let's see what we can do here. Phone's gonna board white. Alright, so Divine Purge is a board wipe, but it's not. The funny thing is it actually doesn't really do much against this. Problem is it just taxes the Druid. Yeah, there's the Fun Police. Gets rid of graveyard options, but we don't really use our graveyard. We'll actually kick this. It'll be a better play. The reason why I say kick it now is because if they bring these back to the board, it costs more for us to try to resolve those back to the board. No blocks. Alright, I'm already about ready to say scoop just because I don't want to have to just see how many more board wipes our opponent plays. Because if Teferi gets up to 8, we just lose. That's how this game works. Oh, did that wrong. X0. I do X0 this way if they have the pay 2 more, I can pay for it. Main issue is they could just use the -2 on Wanderer to exile this. So even if they miss drawing a removal spell, they just have removal in Wanderer. Okay, yeah, that's gonna hurt, but that doesn't kill us. That's not the loss either. Let's see, if I kick this, costs that much. Alright. Pay the 2 life, move to combat. Counter. Attack here. Before the opponent gets to assign blockers, we attempt to kick. They have a removal spell, well, we just lose. If they don't have a removal spell, we get rid of the Teferi. Alright, if they let Teferi go, I'm still technically in this. I gained a bunch of life. Got a huge body, got some extra flying dorks. So, alright. Board wipe.dex, board wipe.deck. So let's see, we take 8. Next turn we take 9. So we're down to 2. Down to 1. Let's see. They have another Wandering Emperor in hand. We are just dead, I think, because they have more enough mana to activate +1, attack, play new Wandering Emperor, +1 again. There's the fun police again. Alright. Why must you be so frustrating? Especially considering they played 2 of these. So, I have to kick this. I don't care. I'll decline these. Counter here. And actually, we're just dead here because they just minus... Okay, you know what? I'm giving them a good game. I'm not going to sit and deal with them anymore. Because they just bounce one of these things and attack the 3. We're done. we don't have a way in anymore. They're just toying with me at that point. Wait a second. Why did I go against a Divine Purge? I should be an Explorer. Did I actually hit Historic? I'm in Historic, aren't I? Yeah, because there's a Luris. Oops. I'm playing hard mode here. Well, let's see how this works. I'm going to quickly get out of this when I have a chance. Oh, at least we're going to make the opponent, like, scratch their head and wonder what the heck we are. If they make us discard one of these land sources, I just play the other one. Because I cannot afford to miss that many lands. Alright. We're going to Roost the Drakes right away. Not taking a chance on the opponent just not seizing that out of our hand. Alright, Croak so far our opponent will actually give up the Kavu. Play Triome, pass. Another Croxa. Discard here. Fight rigging to board. Complete with. Guess we go for the Druid. Alright, they hit the construct out of our hand. Well, we go for this on 4. Oh wait, 2 mana makes it 4. They Fatal Push? No, they Village Rites. Okay. So we're gonna have to deal with the Croxa coming down. We're gonna lose 3 life from them pulling a Croxa from their graveyard, because look how thick this graveyard is. Oh, Powermancer. Alright. Oh, here comes the Fatal Push, right? Well, go for another Fight Rigging. Construct's actually really good here. Of course, I let them resolve in the wrong order. Alright, well, we milled the Blood Chiefs from them. They bring out the Croaks, I'm actually okay with that. Because we already have the larger monster on the board. When we kick this, it's going to come in and play with 2 counters. It'll be a 6/6 itself. Mulligan's commands. Okay. That's a problem. See, how much does this kick it? Only 3? Okay, the kick. And we get ourselves multiple constructs thanks to the copy. But actually hold that in our hand. That way if they bring back a Croak so we don't take damage. And I'm actually surprised how well we're doing here. This is actually one of the top decks of this format. Alright, here comes a Croxa. Now when we go to combat, we can put a counter on each of these. That way they can't just block with a Croxa and kill it. So counter 1, counter 2, swing all. And they can't double block to kill one because they'll die from taking too much damage. We'll hold this in our hand and pass. Not afraid of an Arcanist. Definitely not afraid of 2. We'll give them the GGs because they can't even target the construct because it just split in a whole bunch of 1/1s. Yep, there we go. Accidentally queued up in the historic, and that was a resounding victory for us. Wow, Awesome. Yeah, no, I wasn't. I honestly thought it was like I realized like what we're playing against. I was thinking, oh man, we're just gonna run too slow. We're never gonna get any of these things to the board. But somehow we managed to pull through. And I think part of that is just because of how great a card fight rigging is. It took some time. We didn't immediately get the fight rigging to go off, but the moment it resolves, it ends up winning for you. All right, I'm gonna double check on the tournament. It should be completed. Like everyone should be turned in now, right? So I can see exactly where we are on the standings. Okay, yeah. So the standings are officially locked in. Let me go ahead and bring it up for those who may have missed. Alright. So, for the tournament, we ended up coming in 4th place with a score of 2-1. Now, we ended up winning our first one, lost our second one, won the third one, and we actually did pretty well with the deck. I honestly wasn't sure how well we would perform. And the person who ended up coming in first was Eric Clark. The person who beat us, Heretical, came in second. And third place, we never played against him, Saturino Montero. And we came fourth. Turtlebox was our last opponent, who ended up playing against us one match and said, nope, couldn't handle it. So we only actually did a best of one against Turtlebox. Let's see, there was Matthew Bantelman, the Crabs, the organizer, who was our first match, and Fuji's. So only 8 people tonight, but it was still a fun time. I hope everyone enjoyed that. In case you missed what deck we were running, let me just pull it up right here. So this was the deck, Verazol's The Split Current. Now, this actually ended up turning into a much more competitive deck than I was originally thinking it was going to be. Now, part of that is just because the Split Current's ability of when it enters the battlefield, it enters it with a +1/+1 counter for each mana spent to cast it, which meant no matter how much it got taxed for being brought out back to the board, it always ended out equal to the amount of mana we spent into it. So this thing was always getting larger and larger whenever we had to recast it, and became quite the threat. And the couple of times where we copied spells that had kicker off of it, we got some great value off of it. Whether it was copying our creatures or copying our actual like bounce spells, like Blink of an Eye. So I think this is actually a commander that you shouldn't sleep on. I think it's been pretty good. Now, do I have the most optimal build? Probably not. But it was still a lot of fun, and I hope everyone enjoyed watching it. Now, if I was to change things in the deck, I would possibly just take out Lear. I thought this would be a potentially good card in the deck, but I think the fact that we rely on a bit of our counter magic to play through the early and mid-point of the games, that I think Lear coming to the board might be counterproductive to our support spells. So that would probably be a card I would cut from the deck. Other than that, I think most everything else, I really loved how it worked. Like, Broken Wings, we got in a couple games, was amazing. Line Up the Shot is basically like running Broken Wings. Well, it either gives you the plummet or gives you the naturalize. Like, you can always, if you want to, just play it to draw a card. So I think that this is a great card. Now, this is from the Baldur's Gate set, and it's only going to be a digital card, but it's really cool. Let's see, what was the other card that I was thinking about? There's one other one that I thought was a little off, but I think I went over just the main ones. Oh yeah, there was a weird situation with Kira that I think it's an amazing card for the deck, but it can get in the way of if you have an Inscription of Abundance. So this is, I think, one of our few times where it's like we want to be able to target our spell cards, and we get blocked out of doing it. Now, because of Inscription of Abundance wanting to be able to target our cards, put counters on it, then we can use it for a fight, and then we gain life. With Kira, the Great Glass Spinner on board, we can't do any of that. Unless we're willing to have the first one get counterspelled and then have it copied because of the Split Currents ability. And then we'd have to do all the targets on the same card. So this is whenever this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability, the first time each turn, counter that spell or ability, and gives that to all of our creatures. So that actually blocks our own spells. So there's a little bit of a awkwardness with that. But I think it does help a great deal with how many people like to use targeted-based removal. That does nothing against the sweeper removal, but it still is great because of how much it influences targeted-based removal. Especially that, along with Jin Gitaxis, was just really strong. And I like the fact that we can ramp into these cards really fast. So I hope you all enjoyed the deck. We'll definitely be trying to come up with some more deck ideas that can be, you know, interesting and fun like this. All right. Let's see. It is 8:20. The turn actually ended a little earlier than usual, so we'll go ahead and probably just wrap it up here. I still need to be able to work on getting things updated to YouTube, and fortunately I haven't been feeling the best of late, partially why I missed streaming last night. So I will try to be on time for tomorrow, like I at least was close to today, and be ready with some new deck ideas. Now, I was able to play one of the deck ideas I was originally trying to play for Sunday, but I do have another deck already made up. Actually, two other decks that we haven't tried yet. So hopefully you'll look forward to those. I wish you all have a nice night. We'll send us off on a raid. If there's anyone you'd like to send ourselves to, feel free to shout them out. Otherwise, I'll just see who is online. Let's see who is online. See, are they still going? It looks like they might be wrapping up. I need to move that. Give me a second. There we go. Okay, you know what? If there's no objections, I'll send this over to Otopix. Otopix is playing some Explorer. So, should be some good times over there. And they're just starting up their stream, so you have, you know, something to look forward to as they're just getting started. Looks like they are doing some black-red sacrifice, so it should be fun. Where's my red button? There it is. No. What happened? What happened? What happened? There it is. There, okay. Otopix. To the raid! Alright. Well, take care, everyone. Make sure to spread some love to Odo, and I wish you all have a nice night, and, you know, stay safe out there. Until next time.
Opposite of big. Okay. Hey, CNG stream is raiding with a party of 3. What's going on, guys? How are you? Welcome to the stream, everybody. Anybody who has not gone to check out